Hello! Today we are going camping. Well, not really. We're going to stay at one of our favorite Disney World resorts, and that is Fort Wilderness. We stayed at Fort Wilderness last year. I also made a video on that stay, and in that stay we stayed in the old cabin, but this time we are staying in the new cabin. Theming of the resort is very much focused on the great outdoors. At this resort you can literally pitch your tent, you can park your campers, medium, small, large campers, and it goes all the way up to those massive RV trucks that we are seeing. The final option is that you can rent a cabin, and this is something we are going to do. Every resort has a security check when you arrive. The first time there they check your name against your ID and if you have a reservation. Once you have checked in, you can skip the security when you return to the resort and use the automated gate. To the left is where most campers and RV check in, but you can also check in at reception. This is something we have done. My wife's going to drive the car to the cabin whilst I'm going to pick up the golf cart at the other side of this reception. A golf cart is very handy to use in this resort, as it's good fun but also very practical driving around the resort in golf carts. We see a lot of guests also bring their own golf carts. This is the USA, so there are people that own a golf cart privately. However, it's not cheap. We paid $75 per day to rent a golf cart. That includes the tax. I'm Chris. If you're new to the channel, I travel with my wife. We have traveled a lot in the past and hopefully in the future. We started recording these videos, these vlogs, basically to remind us where we have been. And we are really happy to share it here on YouTube for those that are interested in what we are up to and where we are going. First impression driving into the new cabin loops is how different it looks compared to the old cabins. The new cabins seem a bit out of place, especially the brighter colored ones. But I must say, I think we stayed here about 4 or 5 times before, and we are slightly biased at this point. But the older cabins blend in much better into the wilderness. Fort Wilderness is an opening day resort, or actually it opened a month later, and it is as old as Walt Disney World is. The resort and the Walt Disney World opened back in 1971. The outdoor space is similar sized with the new cabins. They've got some very nice themed deck furniture, and the barbecue is also still here. I'll insert some footage of the old cabin from last year so you can see how it differs. Do share in the comments if you have stayed in the new cabin or if you stayed in the old cabin. Have you stayed in both? What are your thoughts on the cabins? Entering the new cabin, you're really hit with the light and how fresh it all looks. Behind the couch is a full drop-down bed, which is a great improvement on the previous sofa bed they had. I have seen videos from this cabin before we came here. I must say it feels less cramped than it did in the videos. The main bedroom is also a massive improvement on how it was in the older cabins. The bunk beds are still there for the kids, much better theming on the bunk beds, and also very nice touches. Instead of a duvet they have a sleeping bag. cabin doesn't have its own washing machine and dryer, however there are several laundromats on the property which are free to use now. The bathroom is bigger than the old bathroom was, and it feels much fresher than the old one did. There's a steam iron, and as this is a DVC property, there's also a vacuum cleaner hidden here in the cupboard. There is a second sink outside of the main bathroom, which I'm really sure that will please a lot of families staying here. The kitchen is similar to the old one, however it is a bit smaller and it is lacking some storage for your own foods. The shop on the site has the basic food necessities, drinks, snacks, breakfast items, milk, eggs, some frozen meals. Well, you get the drift. If you don't want to cook, there are of course several food options here at Fort Wilderness. You have the Crockett Taverns, which is a full bar but has some bar foods. Next door is the main restaurant called Trill's End. They do a bit of everything. They've got pizzas, burgers, salads and barbecue, which is actually quite good. And finally there's the Hoop-Dee-Doo musical review. That is a live show with singing and dancing. You dine family style, but you do need a reservation for this. Tickets are around $75 for an adult and $42 for a child. That includes the show and the food. Our final thoughts on the new cabins. We paid $560 per night to stay here, so it's not a cheap resort now. We do like the cabins on the inside. They're modern, they're clean, much better laid out, and much more handy also I think for families. But the older cabins had some coziness to them, which we don't have with these modern cabins. We were here in February and the cabin actually heated up quite a bit with all the glass, so that can be an issue I think in the full Florida summer. I also felt that some of the bits and bobs construction wise in the cabins felt a bit fragile, so we'll see how that is going to work out in the future. Practically and in use, these cabins are a big improvement on the previous cabins. However, you know, nostalgia, if I look back at the photos of the old campsite, that did feel much more cozy, much more outdoorsy than these more modern cabins. But in the end, we didn't hate it, and we actually quite really liked it. It's much more comfortable than it was. More worrying, I think, is the big resort tower that they are building next to the lake. Construction is in full swing at the moment there, and I really wonder how the influx of all those people staying that resort has on the sort of quietness of Fort Wilderness at the moment. But we'll see you when it's finished, and I'm sure we're going to stay there in the future. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't, and do leave a like if you like the video. It really helps us. And we're going to see you next time, hopefully. Bye bye.